Hello there. In today's video, I'm going to show you how I turn this gorgeous auburn fabric into this beautiful matching skirt and shirt set.
So you might be thinking, if she calls it a set, why is she not wearing it together? And the answer would be, because I think they look terrible together. But more on that later. And if you stay to the end of the video, I will show you what they look like together.
I intend on making the skirt a half circle and the top a full circle, both with elastic to hold them up. I want to do some simple straps for the top. Now, typically, I would recommend doing a mock-up if you are doing a first draft pattern, particularly if you're not using pattern at all, as is the case today. However, this fabric, although I find it to be very beautiful, was rather cheap, and I did buy it with the intention of using it as a mock-up fabric. So I won't be devastated if this design doesn't work out, even if I do really want it to, because I want to be able to wear it. But we're just going to call this the mock-up final version all in one and hope for the best.
So first things first, I have to cut out the circles. Now, I'm looking for a place in my apartment that's large enough to lay the fabric out. Initially, I think I can do this on my dining room table, but it proves to not be big enough, so I am forced to move to the floor. Cutting out circles this big in slippery fabric can be a little bit trying, but if you just go slowly, as I am doing here, you can make it work. It actually took me a while to figure out where to place the circles on the fabric and how big or how long I could make the skirt given the piece of fabric that I had. So for anyone who's still in school, if you get into sewing, you can actually use some of your geometry math education. If that's not motivation enough, I don't know what is. And here's a great example of why it's always important to test new products on fabric before using it on your entire garment. I thought that I was spraying this with starch, and whatever this stuff is, it is not starch, and it stained my fabric. So I'm glad I didn't spray it on the whole skirt.
Quick update, it's 10 p.m. The baby is finally asleep. He was so much work today, which meant that I did not get quite as far on this project as I was hoping. But what I was able to do was cut out the skirt portion and the top circle portion from the fabric, and I'm really happy with how these pieces look. So I was initially worried that the skirt being only half a circle wasn't going to have as much volume and swoosh as I had hoped, originally intending to do a full circle, but I'm really happy with how this looks. For the moment, I think a half a circle is going to be plenty, and I was able to do it in a kind of longer midi length, which I am happy with. So what I would like to do right now, just while I have a minute before going to bed, is cut the waistband and the band for the top. And let's get that done. That way I am in a good position tomorrow to just start sewing this all up, and maybe I can get it done tomorrow. All right.
Here I'm pinning the skirt to the waistband. The mantra for this project should be pin, baste, sew, press, repeat. Because those are the 4 steps that I followed for every single seam in this garment. For those of you who are not familiar with basting, basting is to sewing what Tinder is to dating. It is the quick and dirty temporary stitches that you put in place in order to hold the fabric together while you stitch the final seam. Now, this project ends up being an example of a fabric dilemma I have quite often, and that is, how high quality a fabric should you use for a project, especially if you've never made the project before and so you're not exactly sure how it will turn out. In this case, I wish I had used a higher quality fabrics, because while I really like the color of this fabric and the drape of it, to be honest, it's a cheaper polyester fabric, which means that it wrinkles and it's just not a nice quality fabric, and I do really like how these two pieces turned out, and I spent a fair amount of time making them, and I kind of wish now with hindsight that I had used a slightly better quality fabric. Once the waistband is attached to the skirt, I fold it over and finish by hand, which proves to be a mistake.
Okay, quick update on the skirt. I initially attached the waistband with the machine and I folded it over, and then I hand sewed the inside of the waistband down. What has happened is that when you look on the inside of the channel, and I'll find a good place where you can kind of see this, you can see the elastic kind of poking through because my hand stitches are not tight enough or close enough to really hold that elastic channel taut against the pressure and tension of the elastic. Now, do I think that structurally this will hold? Yes, I do. Would I do it again this way? No, I don't think I would.
At this point, I've moved on to the shirt, which follows the same mantra: pin, baste, sew, and press. Here, I'm doing the side seam. Next, I'll make the straps. For this, I created a strap as you normally would that was about 4 centimeters thick. But then I sewed 2 lines of stitching down the middle of the strap in order to create a little channel in the middle of about 1.5 centimeters, through which I thread a piece of elastic. This gives the straps that scrunchy aesthetic. Next, I measure how far apart I want the straps to be on the front of the shirt and go about sewing them down. While this is usually a very simple task, I still manage to mess it up.
All right, I wanted to give a quick update on this shirt. So I'm loving the full circle. It's got great bounce and flowiness, but I made a couple mistakes and I wanted to share those with you. First of all, you can see that the seam line that connects the 2 circles is actually in the front of the shirt, and that was unintentional, and that was created when I attached the straps rather than attaching them from the front. This should be the front to the back. I attached them front to front and back to back, which has effectively changed where the front of the shirt is. And I didn't actually hate that at first, but I also made the straps a bit too long. So I love the detail, that they're a bit ruffled. I like how they look, but they're just a bit too long. And so since I'm gonna have to open the band here to shorten the straps, I can also take that opportunity to actually move them into the correct place and move the front of the shirt back to this and move the seam to the side. I did take a poll with my kids and my husband, and we all agreed that the seam on the side did look a bit better, so I will be making those adjustments. But otherwise, after I remove the straps, shorten them, change them to be on the correct side, I'll just have to hem it, and you can see that it's a bit uneven at the moment, but that's because parts of the circle are cut on the bias, and so parts of the circle actually drop and hang further than others. But it's been 2 days now that it's sewn up and been allowed to kind of hang, so I think we'll be in good shape to hem it up tonight. And that's it.
And last but not least, it's time to hem. I put it on the dummy and I measure the distance I want it to fall from the floor, which I calculate to be about 30 centimeters. And then I go around the skirt and mark at 30 centimeters from the floor all the way around, and then I cut it. I apply the same method for the shirt.
Real quickly before I go, I just wanted to mention that I have cut the hem of the skirt to be even. It had the same drooping problem, let's say, as the shirt's not a problem. It just happens whenever you cut anything on the bias. And so I've leveled that off. So this is ready to hem. I tried it on earlier with a couple belts, which I really like. I like the look of it with a belt. And so I might add a couple belt loops on here. Still undecided, but otherwise this is more or less done. And I am wearing them separately at the moment because I kind of hate them together as a matching set, which is ironic because I talk so much about how I love a matching set, and that was my intention to make one with this fabric. But when I put these two pieces together, I just get all kinds of monk vibes. It's like, it looks like a dress shirt combo that a monk would design if a monk were a designer. And I'm not exactly going for that look. So I intend to wear them separately. However, I will put them on together as a set at the end of this video, just so that you can see them and laugh at me. All right.
The final step for both garments is to hem the bottom. And I am using my recently acquired rolled hem foot on my machine. For those of you who have never tried a rolled hem foot, I can highly, highly, highly recommend it. And that's it. Here's the final look. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please like and subscribe. And as promised, I will show you what the set looks like together. Please don't judge me. Until next time.